mostly I thank you for the ways that they choose to seek you. I thank you that when I cry out and say, God, I need you, you show up. I thank you that my spirit doesn't have to thirst anymore because there is you. And you are the living water. And in you I find peace. In you I find strength. In you I find hope. I ask that it be so for every person in this room, every person that views this at a later time. Let your spirit minister. Let your spirit guide. In your name we pray. Amen. So you have reached the end of the I Am a Member series. I know you're excited. It was 6 whole weeks. So the entire time that everybody else is going through the whole Lenten journey, you're taking another journey. So Lent, at Lent we talk about giving up things. So the reason we started a series called I Am a Member is because what we wanted to give up was all of those wrong viewings of membership. We wanted to give up the thinking that it's a country club kind of membership. That membership has its privileges. I come here so you can serve me. I come here so I can have my way. We wanted to give that up, and we wanted to become members in the sense that it was really meant to be. So week 1, we talked about functioning membership. So these are members that know that they have work to do. And they eagerly seek for ways to be a contributing member of the body. Week 2, we talked about unifying. So if you're a unifying member, you're supposed to avoid gossip. That is so hard for some folk. And you're supposed to find ways to forgive people within the body that you need to forgive. Because, it's just like for real biological family, as we said. There's always one. There's always one. And the one is always the one that you got to go, I'm sorry I think you're a jerk. And I'm sorry you think I'm a jerk. And can we just move on? We have to, right? To be able to function. 3rd week we talked about serving. And that got a little bumpy. Because when you're talking about serving, you're actually talking about putting yourself here. It's not about what you can get anymore. It's about what can you give. So we talked about how you have to be serving and selfless. And selfless is a big, hairy deal. And it can scare a lot of folks. After that, we talked about praying for our leadership and for one another. And believe me, leadership needs all the prayers they can get. All the local churches need to be praying for their local leadership. And they need to be praying for their denomination-wide leadership. Has to happen. We need it. Because we need wisdom. And we need guidance. And we need courage. Then we talked about being leaders. Because everybody likes to go, oh, that's the preacher's job. Or that's the governing board's job. They're supposed to go lead people into what it means to be a member. We're like, no. As a good, functioning, faithful member of the body, it's your job. It's your job to lead others. People come into your life for a reason. And it's your job if they come to you and go, hey, can I go to church with you? Sure, come on. And then when they act stupid in church, it's your job to go, no, we don't do that. This is what it means to be a good member. This is what it means to be a bad member. Do this one, or be closer to this than you are to that. It's our job. It's our job to hold one another accountable. And that can cause grief too. So this week, to conclude it all, we talk about believing. But before we do, let's run through all the pledges. And now it's long, I know. As a functioning church member, I will give. I will serve. I will minister. I will evangelize. I will study. I will seek to be a blessing to others. I will remember that if one part hurts, every part is involved in the hurt and the healing. I will seek to be a source of unity in my church. There are no perfect people. This means I am not perfect either. Don't fuss at it, it's true. I will not be a source of gossip or dissension. I will do all I can to help keep the church in unity. I will not let my church be about my preferences and desires. That is self-serving. I am a member of this body. I am to serve others. Jesus taught us how to love and serve. I will be like Jesus. I will love. I will serve. Our church leaders need wisdom, guidance, and strength daily. They need me to pray. My church family also needs prayer. Prayer will help keep this family healthy and give us the ability to help and love others. And when we agree to pray together, the Spirit agrees to be with us. I will pray. I am a church member. I will lead my people, family, chosen family, friends, to be good members of this church as well. We will pray together for our church. We will worship together in our church. And we will ask Holy to help us let love be the rule of our lives. I am a member. So today is about believing. And you're kind of like, well, shouldn't we have talked about believing before we talked about all that other mess? And I guess you could have. But what we've learned in this series is that it's all tangled up together. Like every time it goes, oh, well, be selfless. Well, then that circles back to love everybody. Well, believe, and then that circles back to what you're supposed to do if you do believe. And it all overlaps. So we could have done it at the beginning, but we're doing it here. So in John chapter 6, verse 28, the disciples were such great people. They're always questioning. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, how did you do that? So this time the disciples are asking Jesus, what must we do to do the work that God requires of us? And then Jesus answers, you must believe. Smack. You must believe. So us as a family, as a church, after all of this talk about being in unity together and growing this thing and building this thing and building up one another, what do we have to do to be able to do those things? We have to be able to believe. So when you try to define faith, faith says what? We hope. And when you define believe, believe says you have faith. So if I believe, I have faith, and if I have faith, I have hope. It's all tangled up. It all goes together. And we try to step out on I'm just going to be nice. It's a good start. It's a good place to begin. But the deeper you go, the more you're being called to believe. You're being called to take steps that might not fit what you want to do. It makes you uncomfortable. All of the things that we've gone over can have uncomfortable moments in them. Praying for leadership. Can that be uncomfortable? Depends. If I'm in private at home, not uncomfortable at all, because y'all can't hear what I'm saying. Only I can hear what I'm saying, and God can hear what I'm saying. But if we're in a crowd of people, and I call on you and say, hey, pray for leadership, you're going, what's she doing? She is the leadership. I ain't praying for her from all these people. Right? It's like, why'd you put me on the spot? As we were leaving the band area, that's what Kay said. You put them on the spot, you're going to pay for that. When I said only the voices. Kay's like, you in trouble now. God calls, and we have a choice. We can choose to believe and choose to do the things that we know we must do. Or we can say, okay, so God says I'm supposed to do X, Y, Z. I'll do X. And now I'm going to rewrite Y and Z. So I've stepped over here into this boat, and I'm now the leader. So what happens on Y is y'all going to change and do everything the way I say. And what happens on Z is you ain't going to hold me accountable. I get to do what I want. And you get to sit there and hush. Is that what's in here? Pointing at the wrong place. In here. I was pointing into space. Guess that works too. So if you as a person say, okay, God, you're calling, I'm going to answer, but. The moment you put the but in it, what have you done? You have limited God. You have limited holy. You've drawn a line in the sand and you've said, only that far, no further. I ain't good with lines. I'm really bad with lines. You put a line down and I come all the way up to it and I look around. And then I'll take my big toe and I'll step over it. And I'll wait. Do, do, do. Look around. Nothing happened. I'm going to step on over it. And then I'm going to pause and I'm going to wait. What y'all going to do? I've crossed your imaginary line that says I'm not supposed to do them things. See, in church, when we're in membership in the family and we belong, what we want to do is we want to come into church and we're going to go, okay, sing 3 songs, no more. 2 have to be fast, 1 has to be slow. Now, if you reverse the order, we're going to be mad at you. And we're going to go like this. And we're not going to participate. Or people will come in and they don't care what happens with the music, but then it comes time for the word. It comes time for the preaching, the teaching. And then they get mad. I know more than the preacher know why she up there and I ain't up there. Because you didn't open your mouth, boo. Open your mouth. They was looking for people. Then you have the ones that come in and they just don't want to cooperate with anything. They tell you that God has called them, and then when you try to say, okay, well, when God calls, these are the things we start doing. This is what we start seeing. We start seeing a person who actually hungers and seeks holy. We find a person who wants to know what it means to serve others. And then they push back. No. I'm just going to do my piece, nothing else. Okay, but that's not the example we saw. It's not what we were taught. What we were taught was to be selfless and give everything. Give all we have. Next week is Easter. Do we all know about Easter? We go into Easter because of what? Jesus gave all. Jesus was leading the people, trying to teach them what it means to truly love one another, to truly care in a new way, to live life in a new way, not the way of the empire, but in the way of holy. And the more they did that, the more upset empire gets. And some other people. And it all gets convoluted. And it ends up costing Jesus his life. That was sacrifice. That was selflessness. That was, I believe in love so much. I'm going all the way. Going all the way. When we try to emulate Jesus, we want to be like Jesus until something is required. Until there's a cost. And once it costs us something, no, I don't want that no more. And what I'm asking you today is, do you believe that that's right? Is it okay for us to say, I want to be a member, but I want to follow holy, but I'm just trying to get steps in, that's all. Is it okay to put those lines in the sand? Is it okay to say, no, I don't want nothing to do with it? I'm fine. I'm fine with people who say they don't want anything to do with it. But if you tell me you don't want anything to do with it, please don't come to me and ask me to put you in leadership. Because leadership requires more. Yeah. Leadership requires a servant's heart. And a servant's heart is a heart that's patterned. I'm all off my... Woo! A servant's heart is a heart that is patterned after Jesus. A servant's heart says, let me help you. I don't need fame. I don't need glory. I need to have God. I need to stand in Holy's presence and speak the words that Holy would have me speak to you. A servant's heart goes above and beyond to meet the needs. A servant's heart doesn't sit back and think about, well, what do I get out of it? So for real, what do I get? A servant's heart is always putting other people first. Christy, what does this have to do with believing? I don't know. I got off topic. All I can tell you is that I believe and I know with all of my heart that what we say we want Thrive to be, what we say we want ourselves to be, can't happen unless we go to Holy and say, okay, all of it's yours. All of it. X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to try to write any of them. You write it. And when you write it, I'll do it. That's how it has to work. And if we truly believe what we say we believe, then that shouldn't offend us. When someone says, do what you say you believe. Live what you say you believe. We all have a code, right? We all have things that we hold to be sacred. Some of us base that code on all biblical principles. Some of us mix all kinds of stuff into it. Whatever, that's your bag. But everybody has one, right? And it guides us. And we tend to not do things that break our code. That I don't believe in that. I can't do that. Am I right? Why is it different here? Why is it okay to be different? Why is it okay when you put us in this setting? Why is it okay to suddenly say, oh no, I don't got to do that part. I don't have to do this piece. That's somebody else's job to do that part. Why is that okay? And why is it okay for us to choose to continue to look the other way when we know people in our congregations, in our denominations, are hurting and need us? Why is it okay to turn our backs? Why is it okay for us to look at the leadership of the Methodist Church, of metropolitan community churches, and go, oh no, it's okay, keep doing wrong. God loves you anyway. God does love them. God does not like what they're doing. God does not like it when we harm people. Amen. I'm going to define sin for us one more time. Sin is anything you do that harms you or somebody else, right, or both at the same time. Right. If you're doing things that harm others, you are sinning. If you are doing things that harm you, you are sinning. And if you are sinning, guess what happens? You're separating yourself from holy. You're telling holy, I'll be over here doing my thing, you go do yours, I'll come back later. That ain't leadership. That is not a servant's heart. That is not what a good member does. A good member seeks holy, follows holy, believes, and acts on that belief. Let me see if I can get us back. 1 John 3:23. Believe and love one another. So it's the mix. We believe and then we act. And that loving one another thing, I'm just here to tell y'all for another time. It wears me out. I mess it up more times than I get it right, I feel. Amen. But I keep trying. Amen. Galatians 5:6. The thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. See how it all just keeps weaving back and forth? Love, 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 more love. So believe. To believe is to have faith. And to have faith is to have hope. And if we have faith, we express it through our love. It's this continuous loop. So every week, everything that we learned was based on that. Believing that Holy calls every single one of us to this family. Believing that Holy wants us to do amazing things. And believing in ourselves, in one another, and mostly in Holy. Believe. And all the people said,